Ready in 5. Good luck, everyone. 4, 3, 2, 1. Come forward.
There's something in the curiosity of seeing how far you can run, because every time you think that you've hit your limit, next time you get a little bit further. It makes me really nervous thinking about all of the things that can go wrong. Over 100 kilometers, and with, you know, it's probably going to rain, and the terrain is pretty difficult. And the last time I did an ultra on this kind of terrain, I was on crutches for a few weeks afterwards. Yeah, a lot can go wrong. This race is on like my playground where I've been doing all my training, and I probably know the course better than anyone else. I know that's not going to help me when I'm super tired and I have a bad attitude, but at least this is exactly what I've trained for, and I know exactly what I'm in for. It gets to the point where the last hours before I can get on the start line are some of the worst. It's just uncomfortably terrible. I get these out of control hits of adrenaline that I can't do anything with, because I can't just go and run it off because I'm about to go and run a fair distance. Hopefully that'll go away over time, but I've kind of learned that I just get nervous before events. After the first busy few miles, I just didn't see anybody else for hours, and all you can see is what you can see from your head torch on the ground. And it's like being stuck in a weird kind of scary video game with just hours and hours of not seeing any other runners. So to finally get to a checkpoint where you see people that you recognise is a really big deal after all that. And my plan had been that I would have a couple of crew members meet me at St Anthony's Head, which was the turnaround point. I ended up getting there a little bit earlier than I had anticipated, and nobody was there to meet me. And I had a complete meltdown because I had run down all of my supplies. On the way back to Port Scatho, I was on the phone, like leaving voicemails for everybody saying, please, can you get to Port Scatho? I've got nothing with me. So when I came through Port Scatho, I was just really pleased to see some crew there ready with like exactly what I needed, because I was not tempted by the bacon rolls. When you run an ultra, most of us are going to win. Most of us are not podium finishers. We're just trying to get to the finish line. And so you so badly want to finish, and you really want the people around you to finish as well. It kind of reminds me of like a crazy drunken night out where you might meet someone and you're just like, hey, where are you from? And then 2 hours later, there's someone weeping and you're dragging them up a flight of steps and like insisting that they can make it, and you skip all of the small talk. By the time I got to Port Low, I knew that I was making pretty good time, and I had come past the turnaround point and was on my way back, and my friend Helen was still headed out to the turnaround point, and I was really happy to see her, and I was about to stop and talk to her, and she said, you're fourth, keep running. And I was like, oh, fuck. Now I have to like be serious and keep running. So I got to Port Low and hadn't actually planned on stopping there, except that like my best friend of 8 years just appeared in a raincoat, and I hadn't seen him in about 2 years. So that was a really good moment. That was a cool pick me up, and they were there with like water and cookies, and that was one of the best moments of the race. It makes such a difference just seeing people that you know. The downside of that was that he was there also giving water to other people, and I don't think he really knew what ultra runners get like a long way into a race. So he was like, what's wrong with everyone? No one can open their own bottles, and someone puked on my hand. Like, I don't know what's happening here. You can tell that nothing ever happens in Gorenhaven because everybody showed up just to stand out in the rain for people to run through. And as soon as I hit the top gate, I could hear people just screaming and screaming. And I like toddled down through the boatyard, and they tried really hard to get me to go into the checkpoint, and I was like, oh, they've got a sandwich for me, it might work. They had everything that I could possibly have wanted laid out. They had like a Coke float and hot chocolate and a Mars bar and dry clothes, and that was 53 miles in, so I was past really any kind of stringing a sentence together. From Gornhaven to Penjewin, I had to run faster than was sensible or comfortable because I was behind the white rat runners, and that was just a long line of runners climbing up out of Gornhaven. So to get past them, I had to stick at a running pace. I couldn't like overtake some and then walk because you'd end up blocking people's way. So I came into Penjewin feeling just absolutely worn out by that point. And I came in and I sat down, and my friend said to me, "You're 10 minutes behind the woman who's in third position." And I was like, fuck, I need to get going then. So I just got up and carried on running. I think I sat down for less than 30 seconds. I tore out of Penjewin, like still feeling terrible, and like I hadn't stopped for the things I needed, but just thinking, if the person in third position is 10 minutes in front of me, I have no excuse not to try. I'm sure I can't make up 10 minutes over 4 miles, but I have to get going. It's funny that when people hear that you're doing a 100k race, they're like, "Did you run the whole thing?" And I'm like, "Man, I didn't even walk the last half mile. I had my hands on the floor with my butt in the air, and I was just climbing up." You have this fear in a race that you think, especially if you're near the front, where you think, am I going to look back on this tomorrow or in a week or in a month and think I could have pushed myself a bit harder? And especially if you think, could I have made a podium finish? And I thought, I have to remember this moment, that if my life had depended on it, I could not have pushed any harder. Like this is as fast as I can go. How many times have you spoken to people who say, especially with ultra running, people say, "Oh, I could never do that," or "I can't run," and you just think, like, are you sure? Like, have you tried? Did you try again? And then did you run and then fail, obviously, because you're not used to it, and then give it another shot? Because running is just something that anyone can do if they just graft at it every day, and that's the great thing about it. It doesn't matter what your money or your privilege is, you get out of it exactly what you put in. It's just something that you have to work at, and I honestly think that anyone can do it. And I think if people knew that, then everyone would do it. I think ultra running gives people what religion gives a lot of people. It's like getting so close to your own mortality that you actually understand what it means to just be an alive person. That doesn't sound very good, but you know, I know what I mean in my head. If you push yourself to the point where you feel like you're gonna die and then you make it and you don't die,